Hello and welcome to EndlessDream, a brand new scenario which just officially released a few days ago. I mean, obviously it was in early access, but now it has officially released. And this guide will just maybe help you understand what the scenarios and help you with things if you get stuck. You don't know what you have to do actually. So you can use the timestamps below to go to the part on which you need help or something. But let's start. So the first thing you need to note is if you actually go to your map and if you zoom out. So obviously this is the entire Manibus map, which you have or most probably have experienced before since this is one of the first scenarios. But if you go up, there's an entire new portion unlocked. So this is actually the Way of Winter scenario. So Endless Dream is actually a scenario where it combines both the Manibus and the Way of Winter maps. So you can actually experience two scenarios in one. So this is the one of the major differences in terms of maps. Let's move on to the main gimmick of this scenario. So if you actually zoom, let's go back to the map only. So you can see there are these these purple clouds over here. So if I see here, so you can see these purple clouds, or maybe you can see these television with hands, or like this diamond with a eye logo. So this is the main gimmick of the scenario. These are called dream zones. So just to explain a dream zone, I'll just show you what happens when you actually go in a dream zone. That'll be better. So when you enter a dream zone, so besides obviously the visuals change, you can see the main thing you need to know about dream zone is if you look at the bottom of the screen, there's a timer, a 15-minute timer. So this is called as strayness level. So as you explore the dream zone, your strayness level will keep increasing, and once that timer hits zero, you will instantly black out, or in other words, you will actually instantly die. So this is the main one of the things you need to keep out of, which is the strayness level. So you can actually counter this straightness level, or in other words, increase the time duration if you need to, by something called as reality resitol. So if I go to my backpack, I actually have the item. So this item will actually reset the confusion and allow you to extend the duration down. So in case you are exploring a zone, or maybe you're battling some boss, which I'll go over in a bit, I need to extend the duration before you black out. So you can use these. So some ways to get this is actually you can get it through either defeating some of the eternal dreamers, which I'll talk about a bit, or you can go to your mimetics and under crafting. So if you go to reality anchor, if you unlock this mimetic, it will actually help you craft this reality resitol, which will help you reset the timer of the strainers level. So one of the cool features about dream zones especially is that you have the freedom to build anywhere. So what do I mean by this is, you naturally, if you want to build, actually you need to be within your territory range, right? So if I show, let's say on the map, I'm currently in a dream zone, but my house is all the way, on the north side. So ideally, I should not be able to build. But if I actually go to my construction and I try to build something, so let's say a simple wood foundation, so you can see I can build it even though my territory terminal is not here. So this is a cool feature, and this is not limited to structures as well. You can actually build some facilities as well. So let's say, so there, as you can see, I built a sandbag which is used for defense, and this will be useful because you can actually build, like, defenses and turrets as well, or you can even and you can use electric supplies, like your solar power generators and all, to power supply them, so that this will be helpful when you actually fight things like eternal dreamers and deep dreamers, which I'll explain in a bit. So but yeah, it's a cool feature that you can actually construct without any restrictions, but obviously this only applies if you're within a dream zone. So the next thing I want to talk about dream zones is that you can actually collect various type of resources in this. So the first one I want to show is actually there are hidden morphic crates. So if you roam around dream zones, so in dream zones you will see these type of pink spots over here. So all you have to do is just follow them. So let's just follow this, and yeah, it will reveal the hidden dream zone crate, or it's called trace box in this case. So obviously once you kill it, then you will actually get some rewards over here. So this is the first type of reward you can actually farm from here. The second type you can or resource you can get is from these trees actually. So if you look at these trees, these pink colored star shaped trees. So if you mine these, so you can get a stardust source from this tree. The third resource are actually these clocks you can look around the map. So these are called wakeful clocks. So if you mine these, you will get a resource called the Sand of Clarity, which I will explain in a bit. And the last resource gathering are these floating orbs, or these are called Dreamweaver fruits, which you can get. And these will grant you the various crystals. And depending on which area you're looting, you'll actually get that. So next I want to talk about the environmental effects. So whenever you enter a dream zone, there are possible of any three or even all three effects can happen at the same time. So let's see which one I get first. So I can see it says, beware the lightning. So what happens in lightning is there'll be lightning strikes all around the area. And the thing is, you're not supposed to stay idle, because if you stay in one place, the lightning might strike you and you will actually die. So that's the first thing to note. But the other thing this lightning strike does as well is, if it strikes, let's say, some of this ore or trees around, it will actually shatter them and you can actually collect resources from them. So let's see if I can actually make this happen. So really cool thing about the lightning strike is, if a lightning strikes an ore, you will actually get the metal directly from it. So if I check here, you see I can get steel ingot instead of collecting iron ore. And this is pretty cool, because if I go, let's say, so you can see I can get aluminum ingots. You can even get tungsten ingots. So depending on what the lightning strikes, you will actually get that type of ingot. So yeah, as you can see over here, this one I think struck a clock, so that's why it's giving Sand of Clarity instead. But yeah, if a lightning strikes an ore or something, you can actually get the metal instead of the ore. The second type of environment effect is actually explosions. So you will just it's just as the name suggests, there'll just be explosions and you will get like a big red circle warning in the area. So all you have to do is just dodge around. And obviously, just like the lightning effect, if you are in it, it will actually kill you. I mean, you'll start losing health and then you will die. But unlike lightning, which actually smelts the ingots, as you can see over here, if an explosion hits an ore, it will only just give you the ore itself. So if I see over here, this is just giving me copper ore instead of copper ingots. So that's the difference between if an explosion or a lightning strikes an ore. The third effect I want to talk about is Evernight. So Evernight, it actually reduces your visibility. So as you can see, I cannot see the map, and then if I keep walking, then the map starts becoming more clear and clear. And then after some time, it will cause this black color drain, and which will also read through my health reducing. So you can see my health is actually reducing. But what you might not know is you can actually stop this. So all you have to do is run to this what is called as nightmare light source. So as you can see, that the black rain stops and you actually stop losing health over here. There's another way you can counter it is by going into your mimetic's cradle, and if you unlock the reality anchor, you can actually craft this nightmare lantern, which will provide the same effect. Now let's talk about the main goals of this scenario. So your main goal of this scenario is to actually defeat eternal dreamers, which are denoted by this diamond like icon with the eye. So as you can see, this eternal dreamer is a ravenous hunter. And before I talk about the mechanics, I want to talk about defeating an eternal dreamer, because when you defeat an eternal dreamer, there are actually three things that happen. First is obviously straightforward. You get challenge rewards. Like for this one, you can get deviations, and higher level the eternal dreamer, the higher rating deviation you get. Besides that, obviously you can get suffix mod box and energy links and all. So this is the first reward. The second reward is towards your server itself. So if you defeat eternal dreamers, so as you can see on the top right corner, it says remaining eternal dreamers. Obviously, that's one number. And also the thing is, depending on how many eternal dreamers you defeat, you can actually skip the server countdown. So as you can see, if you read the description over here, it says eliminate eternal dreamers 13 to skip ahead to the next phase up to 2 days. So obviously, if your server contributes more, then you can actually move on to phases faster. And the last thing that happens if you defeat an eternal dreamer is that there are different endings. So obviously, this is my first time, so I don't know what the endings are, but depending on the number of eternal dreamers your server eliminates, you will actually get different endings. So I'm guessing this might be maybe if you defeat all the eternal dreamers, you might get maybe all the rewards or something like that. But obviously, this is my first time, so I don't know what the rewards are actually or what happens, or depending on the ending. So that's the thing. To activate activate any of the dreamers, all you to find is this nightmare tube, which is like this televisions all stacked to each other, and then you have to just deposit some sand of clarity. Obviously, depending on the level of the dreamer, you will need more sand of clarity. So this is just a basic one, so that's why it just costed 50 sand of clarity. But that's how you activate the bosses, either eternal, deep, or light dreamers. After you activate the nightmare tube with the sand of clarity and start the fight, the thing is, if you do this directly for an eternal dreamer, this will actually be very very difficult for even if your entire server starts the battle, because one of the you can see there's some nightmare states and there are all these buffs this boss gets. The red ones are obviously the environmental ones, such as either lightning, explosion, or the Evernight. But besides that, you can see there's some green and yellow buffs this boss is getting. And like for example, let's say the green one we check, so it says protects the target 10% damage reduction up to 90%, and there's 3, so it'll get 3, so 30% damage reduction. And then obviously the yellow ones are for offense, so yeah, it says 20% by stack, so 3 20s are 60%. So the problem is with these buffs, it'll actually become very difficult for you and your server to defeat this boss, even if you work together. So that is why instead of directly fighting the Eternal Dreamer, there's like a hierarchy first. So to understand this, if you actually click on the Eternal Dreamer, you see besides this square, there are some other squares which got highlighted. So if I like maybe zoom out the map, so you can see these television icons with a hand coming out, and let's say 5 of them have got highlighted. So what this means is this Eternal Dreamer is actually supported or powered by these, let's say mid bosses, the mid tier bosses, which are called as Deep Dreamers. So your task is actually to defeat these Deep Dreamers, which will actually then power down the Eternal Dreamer, making it easier. Although the thing about Deep Dreamers is these Deep Dreamers are also buffed by something called as Light Dreamers. So if I click on this Deep Dreamer, so obviously you can see it has this yellow buff, and 2 green buffs, and then on the description it says Light Dreamer. So technically, and if you click on this, you can see this will highlight a circle around. There are 3 small square boxes around it. So technically, the hierarchy is first you need to defeat the Light Dreamers, which are surrounding the Deep Dreamers, which will then weaken the Deep Dreamer. Then you defeat the Deep Dreamer, and then finally when you defeat all the Deep Dreamers which are connected to this. So if I show you again, so you can see there are 5 Deep Dreamers which support this Eternal Dreamer. So once you defeat the Light Dreamers, then the Deep Dreamers, then you will actually have an easier time as a server to defeat the Eternal Dreamer. So that is how the hierarchy goes. Obviously you can actually skip, but if you do decide to directly fight either Deep Dreamer or Eternal Dreamer, just know it will be much more difficult. So that is the steps that you're supposed to follow. The last thing I want to talk about is Miss Memory herself. So not the ones where you find in settlements, because those ones will just give you guides on the scenario itself. But these Miss Memory are located near Dream Zones or inside Dream Zones, and you'll have to actually look at the world chat to actually find a location. So, but if you do find a location, like here I have found one. So if you actually talk to her, this one is actually a shop. So this is pretty good because one of the other resources besides Sand of Clarity get is actually these reality fragments, which you can actually exchange in this shop. So some of the things you can get is obviously I guess the Dream Zone. You can call this maybe the shiny version of H37 deviation. So you can get this one, like, or yeah, this one which will give you a level 4, level 5 skill rating. You can also get some some mod crates over here. Then Stardust source as well. Then you can even buy the crystal selection box over here, which will obviously give any rand. You can get to choose a reward between crystals if you're having difficulty, but obviously to farm crystals, you can either just explore settlements or catch the Dreamweaver fruit, which I've explained in prior sections. Now, some of the other interesting rewards are these memory fragments over here. So these are like those mimetic specialization fragments. So just to show you, if you don't know what they are, so these are like these fragments over here. So obviously, since getting mimetics, it's pure RNG. So maybe you might have missed out on some good on specialization. So you actually have another chance. So you can actually buy it, and they only cost 20 for one. So obviously, this box gives you one random fragment for level 1 to 15, and this is from 20 to 35, and this is from 40 to 45. So this is a pretty good deal. And the last thing you can buy from here are calibration blueprints. This is also pretty difficult to find, especially like you need obviously the main effect, and then you're looking for the sub effects. Like for example, you need double crit rate or double weak spot damage. So for every type of gun, you can actually buy fragments. Sorry, the blueprints over here, and they'll, as it says, it'll always be legendary. So this is a pretty good thing to buy as well. So yeah, if you find missed memory, then make sure you actually purchase at least the event, or sorry, the scenario exclusive deviation, and you might as well also buy some of the rare blueprints, which are pretty hard to get, like the ones you want. So yeah, that's all about Endless Dream scenario. I mean, some things I would like to talk or maybe tell you about, like additional, is that first thing you need to know is that Endless Dream is actually a pretty difficult scenario as compared to Manibus or even I think Way of Winter. So you need to keep that in mind. So just to like give you an example, if we let's say check the first monolith boss over here. Oh, no, sorry, not this one. So the first monolith boss, which is Revenus Hunter, it's saying the recommended level is 20, and then even if you check the area, you need to be level 22. It says recommended. So you have to understand that Endless Dreams, the scaling is a bit higher. So obviously, my tip is that don't be disheartened. It just means that your early game will be a bit more harder. But once you level up and get the resources and all, even you can just do public crisis events even at low levels. So just don't be disheartened. You will actually get. It'll just be a bit harder, but you will actually enjoy the scenario. The next thing to know is if you're someone like me who has never played Way of Winter, so maybe it's not best to actually start at Way of Winter, because I didn't know this mechanic of Way of Winter until I started experiencing. So my weight used to be, I think it used to be above 85, or it was, I think it was above 85, because my maximum load used to be 110 if I was full. But now, because I didn't realize if you roam around the cold too much, you actually start losing weight. And if you lose weight, then you lose the maximum load. So if you don't have experience with Wear Winter, then I would suggest either maybe looking at some guides on how to counter the cold mechanics and all, and understand it before explore those areas, because I didn't even explore. I just went for the public crisis events, and I didn't realize the cold actually makes you lose weight. So just be just be a bit careful about the Way of Winter section. But obviously, if you have played Way of Winter, then you already know what to do. And the last thing is that even though these bosses, like you can use Sand of Clarity and activate them by yourself, you need to understand that this scenario focuses a lot on collaboration. Even for maybe some high level deep dreamers, it will be pretty difficult for you to solo them. So maybe only thing you might be able to solo might be light dreamers, and maybe to an extent deep dreamers if you have like the really perfect build with good mods and all, and good rolls on the mods. So maybe you might be able to solo deep dreamers, but you have to understand that this scenario focuses a lot on collaboration. So hence for that, you will have to actually keep an eye on the world chat. So example, maybe someone in the world chat might say that they're gonna target this deep dreamer, this light dreamer, or this eternal dreamer. So you'll have to keep an eye on collaboration. So solo playing is a bit difficult over here, but obviously the dungeons and silos and all you can do by yourself. But just make sure that just keep make sure that you understand this is a collaborative scenario which focuses more on that, unlike the other scenarios where The only collaboration, let's say, in Maniverse was just the Prime Wars, which you didn't even have to do. You could just do it for rewards, but just understand that it's a more collaborative scenario. And yeah, that's all about Endless Dream. Hopefully, you enjoy maybe let's say the challenge and the different kinds of dynamics and the mechanics that work for the Dream Zones. And yeah, hope to see you in another video. Take care.